Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast from still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, come to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. We've got the next generation. Ryan Shumpert, Ethan Stone, Jack Foster. They're out of here. They are gone. We got the next generation here. Get these guys out of here. The Vols sports guys, they're done. They're cooked. We've got Alex Sarkis, who wants to do anything except watch Pittsburgh Pirates baseball. I don't know what he did to deserve Pittsburgh Pirate fandom, but the man's got a banner on his Twitter cover photo of the Pittsburgh Pirates, like him at a game. It's not even just like Paul Skeens just throwing a strike. It's just him at a Pirates game, which can't be fun at any given time, but great views, which is fun. But I mean, sell the team always with Alex Sarkis. Alex of the UTK Daily Beacon. How are you doing, sir?
I'm great. How are you, Chase? I appreciate you having me. This is cool.
Have you been to a Pirates game since you went back out for the summer?
Oh my, I've been to 6 or 7. Yeah.
Oh, have they won any of them?
Yeah. I have an app that tracks my lifetime record, and right now I'm right at 500, which is the most Pirates thing that you could have. So
there you go. You might have to be a full-time resident again. You might have to be every game. That might be their only path to 500 is how many games Alex attends.
That might be it. Man, it's rough, but hey, I enjoy it anyway. I love baseball. So
there you go. I love it. We also got Griffin Hadley, first VFL, swimming and diving, someone who can do something athletically that just not even in close to my wheelhouse. Like my level of swimming is just so bad. Griffin, like just no, like I was doing, this is how washed I am. This is a good, I broke my foot 2.5 years ago, Griffin. Week of my wedding. Do not recommend. 0 out of 10. Do not recommend. I was a long time runner and broke it the week of my wedding, mile 2, stepped off a curb wrong, hurt it instantly. It's like, oh, I'm cooked. Like this is bad. This is very bad. But the doctor, my physical therapist was like, you need to start swimming, like to avoid arthritis and to get your foot back in order. Like it's easier on the joints and all that kind of stuff. And I was never a swimmer. Like my brother liked swimming a lot, never in the water. Water's not my jam. Not a big water guy. Not an aqua guy. And I'm over there at National Fitness Center. Hey, all right, I'll give it a shot. I'm the only person under 70 years old every time I'm there. Like they're all doing aerobics classes and I'm just over here trying to get my laps in. It was demoralizing, Griffin. And I was like, I'm not missing anything. And I'm like under the water and the chlorine part of it. I'm like, this doesn't work. But then I found saltwater pool. And saltwater should be the requirement everywhere. Let's get rid of all chlorine, everything saltwater, because it is 10 times better. But I am so slow. And it's one of those where I thought I was going a lot faster. And then I'd look up and I'm like, I am not even anywhere close to where I thought I was. So you were elite at something that I don't think enough people appreciate how hard it is to do what you do.
Hey, I tried my best, and I absolutely loved my experience at UT as a swimmer. It was so fun, just the best coaching staff. I'm lucky where I was on a team where Matt Kredich, head coach of swim and dive, he was in his 20th year last year in my senior year. That's rare in this era of college athletics. One of the longest tenured coaches at Tennessee. Our diving coach retired after 35 years this past year. So shout out to Dave Parrington. The swimming and diving team has an incredible coaching staff, incredible support staff. I loved my experience. I loved wearing the power tee, but also loved being a part of the journalism school like Alex over here. I was able to participate on the swimming and diving team, but I was also able to cover the athletic department for WTK and the radio station. So it was kind of a cool dynamic where I was able to watch some of my buddies and analyze the sports as they went. It was a good time.
Are you retired, or are you going to you go to the neighborhood pool and you can hustle some folks where you're like, they just don't know. They don't see you coming and you're like, you want to just do a race? Like, here, I need to make some summer money. Like, I'll race you. Sure.
Haven't done that just yet. My buddies and I went to the T-Rec pool and watched some people swimming laps, and we were tempted. We were always like, should we ask them to race right now because they don't know who we are?
That's cold-blooded, man.
I'm actually switching gears like you, Chase. You had to get the recommendation of getting in the pool.
Yeah.
I'm coming off of a shoulder tear. I have a little labrum tear, so I'm getting surgery later in the summer. So I haven't touched the water since I was done in late February, early March. So I've been out of the water. I've been running a little bit, playing pickleball, playing golf, just trying to figure out what the next way to stay in shape, stay active is. I love being in the water. I will be back in the water, but it might be quite some time because I do have to get that done.
Yeah, I just feel like you had to have been like just how much time in the water, like growing up to be able to get to the point where you're swimming at UT. Like you've spent a lot of time at some swim meets, right? Like that's a
Oh,
big.
yeah.
It had to be a big part of your childhood.
Oh, yeah, a huge part, and I started in the summers when I was
Yeah.
6. So, I started in the summers, didn't start year-round until I was 11, so a little bit later, but man, spent countless hours at the pool. I come from just one of the best programs in the country. So grateful for where I come from. I'm from Carmel, Indiana, just north of Indianapolis. Carmel put several swimmers on the Olympic team last summer. So I've swam with Olympians. I've swam with SEC and NCAA champions, like from club. And so I was, just so grateful for that opportunity that just happened to be where I grew up. And so that put me in a place to succeed and swim at Olympic trials and swim at the University of Tennessee. And now I'm here and couldn't be more happy with how that career ended up.
Well, there you go. That's the intro. Alex, I'm sorry. I didn't we had the swimmer. I went way too far on the swimmer part. Alex, did you is there something we don't know? Like not swimming, baseball, something?
I mean, I'm not the level of an athlete that Griffin is, but hey, I go to 1 million Pirates games a year. That's what I do during my summer. So
there you go.
That's a commitment. Hey, that's a commitment.
But you know what? It might be more of a commitment than being a college athlete.
That's true.
Sometimes I'll tell you what.
I think so. Many are saying.
Oh, brother. But hey, it's all right.
There you go. You have other, you've got like the Steelers just right there. Like the Steelers.
I root for, all of our teams, our Pittsburgh teams equally. So I've enjoyed, those runs, the Penguins back in 16 and 17, but the Steelers have been mid these past few years. The Penguins have not been. I mean, we're in a dark stage of Pittsburgh sports, but that's for another podcast. So
goodness gracious. Well, we are going to talk some Tennessee football, some Tennessee baseball here on our first edition here on the program with this trio. And I want to start off here. Biggest reason for Vols optimism in football in 2025 for you is what, Alex?
I'm going to go with the secondary, specifically Ricky Gibson and Jermon McCoy. I think those guys last year were, just from me watching, I was like, man, these dudes are just dogs in the secondary. And I think, the defense was really good last year. Pass game, running game. But I think those two are really poised for a big year. And I think Ricky Gibson could take a big step up. I mean, he was good last year, but he's poised for a breakout year. McCoy led the SEC, or co-led the SEC with 4 picks. So he was all over the place. He arguably had the play of Tennessee's season last year with that pick in the end zone against Alabama. Total momentum shifter. So I think those guys, for me, and just the overall secondary is going to be, if not the best unit on the team, it's going to be close.
I love the secondary call because I think they're just going to also benefit so much from the front seven. In the front seven, this is the first year where Tennessee's only going to have a 2 deep of blue chippers at the linebacker spot. William Inge just quietly stacked that room where you're going to have a 2 deep, most likely this year, of T-Lander and Carter, and then behind them, Jordan Burns and Edwin Spillman. That's just your 4. And then you have Jaden Harmon coming in, 4-star from Rome. You've got Christian Gass looming. You've got Jaden Perlotti looming. Like, it's just a loaded room. And I think people are going to look way too much into James Pierce just being gone, where I think they're going to be more than fine without James Pierce. My worry is more on the opposite side. Like, I think you need Jordan Ross to be able to be in that Rabbits package that Tyler Barron was in 2023. You got to find that guy opposite of Joshua Josephs this year, where you don't put all the pressure on your Leo to get home with 4. That was something the one miss in the portal 2 years ago was not retaining Tyler Barron. And I said at the time that that was a mistake. It's just, you tried to Moneyball strong side defensive end, and Barron was awesome again at Miami this past year. I mean, he was wrecking Florida in that game. It was a big reason Miami beat Florida. But you try to Moneyball it with Dominic Bailey, Tyree West, and Tyree Weathersby, and it just didn't work that way. You didn't get the same kind of production, and it just did not work. But I think there's a lot more reason for optimism on both sides there, and I think they're going to continue to rotate. And I think Jordan Ross seems like, if he can stay healthy, Ross is someone who I think can slide over on obvious passing down, stuff like that. But it's just going to help the secondary. And I think the secondary is going to need help, Griffin, because Jermon McCoy, I don't know when he's going to play. There's a lot of people are just expecting him right away against Syracuse. I still don't think I would be very cautious until Georgia. I think it's just more of you need him for Georgia 100%. I think you can beat Syracuse and obviously ETSU without Jermod. And if he needs a little bit extra time to get right and get ready, then that's what you do. But I think it's a good call. The secondary is just going to be a whole lot better than people expected. I mean, Boot Carter in year 2, I think he's your best overall, like he's your most talented player on this roster right now. And I think he has the potential to just be a superstar over the next 2 years. Colton Hood, a sneaky addition. Jalen McMurray was a top 100 PFF corner this past year. He's right there, and he should help in a big way. Caleb Beasley and Idris Farouk next to Turntine. Turntine's quietly a third-year starter now and one of the leaders for Banks, so that continuity is huge. I don't know. Is it secondary for you too, Griffin, or do you go somewhere else?
I was actually planning on zooming out. I love the nitty-gritty. I love the talk about the potential secondary. Obviously, the offense is a whole nother can of worms. But when I thought about this question, when I thought about optimism, I thought about the fan and I thought about the media's reflection of this team in 2025. And I think the biggest reason for optimism is the level of expectations on this team. There's so many question marks because I think with this team coming back with Nico running the show, the expectations and the pressure and the optimism based on camp might have been a little different. But I feel optimistic just because the expectation level dropped a little bit. Yes, there's question marks being at wide receiver, at quarterback, but I think there is enough to be optimistic about. I like the energy in the building. It seems like the guys have really rallied together. This coaching staff has been here for a long time now. Rodney Gardner is the guy he's going to get his guys. The defensive line, they're going to get their guys and they're going to get production. So I know that's zooming out. I know it's not ultra specific, but when I think about this roster, when I think about the quarterback position, when I think about the leadership in the building, my biggest reason for optimism is because we really don't know how it's going to go. And I think there's enough talent in the building to be optimistic for what this team can accomplish in 2025.
I think that's fair. I do think it's good that there's like a really low-key lack of buzz right now about this group because 100%. The expectations are just not. It reminds me a lot of 2021 in some ways because you had Joe Milton come in as a May transfer spring portal guy. Hendon Hooker was a leftover guy and kind of overlooked. And I think you're kind of seeing that a little bit with Jake, where Jake is just looming in the weeds, working out with Mike and Braylon and company in May. Natural leadership qualities. He's been in the system for 2 years now. I still think it's going to be an open quarterback competition. I still would be surprised if they don't go to Aguilar. Heupel seems to just favor the vets, and I'll be surprised if it's Jake out of the gate. But I also have predicted that I think you're going to see multiple starters this year, even if Jake doesn't start right away. That all being said, I just think it's nice because I don't think anyone has it. You made the playoff last year. Like you got to where you were supposed to go. I don't think the fan base doesn't blame the staff for what happened with Nico. So I think the Nico part of it stinks because that theoretically would have raised your ceiling in 2025, but Nico was still theoretical, right? Like the pressure would have been crazy for Tennessee because it just felt like this was it for Nico no matter what. Like either he balls out and goes to the draft or balls out and goes to the portal, or it doesn't work. And it's like, all right, we have 2 years of evidence where it just is not, it's not clicking. So like, we're going to move on. We're bringing in Faison next year. Like everything was just set up to have a 3-man competition between Jake, George, and Faison next year. And like, may the best man win. And then you just see what happens. And that's what you do. Now it's just a little bit more, it's muddled. And I think fans are just kind of like, I don't know what to expect. No Dylan Sampson, no Nico. Like the receivers, you have 6 of 7 receivers are all underclassmen. And you have one upperclassman, it's Chris Brassel. Like that's the only veteran in that wide receiver room. You don't know what you're going to get out of Lance Hurd at left tackle. I'm pretty bullish on Lance being really good this year. I think he has a lot of reasons to be as best at his absolute best, because I think if he has a good year, he's a potential first-round guy. His size and frame and his upside, he actually graded out better than Darnell Wright did his first year at Tennessee. So I think there's a lot of reason for optimism. I think Lance Hurd's going to have a really good, quiet year for Tennessee. But to your point, like I think a lot of people have gone way too far the other way on Tennessee a little bit, where it's like, oh, we're not like, it's kind of a wash. Like let's get to 8-4. And I'm like, this schedule is great for Tennessee.
That was the other thing that I had in mind, is that the schedule provides optimism itself.
Yeah. I mean, they lost only one game and they're over under FanDuel. Like they went from 9.5 to 8.5. It's not like FanDuel was like, oh, season's over. No Nico, done deal. It's like, no, you're still looking like a 9-win team. And I think the defense, the difference between 21 and 25 is you just have so much in the cupboard on defense that your floor is so high with Tim Banks' group. Like they've hired extremely well. Like you just casually bring in Alum Williams and Marion Hobby this offseason on that side of the ball. Like Tim Banks just stacks just veteran big time coaches. Like they're just loaded. It's one of the best coaching staffs in college football on the defensive side of the ball. Offensive side, you have one guy over 40 years old who is in a coordinator role right now. And like Halsey under 40, Kelsey Pope under 40, Darrell Sims under 40, and then you have Alec Ablin under 40, and then Ellerby is the only vet who's like in one of those position coaches or coordinator roles. It's very different, but Seth Luttrell I think will help coming in as an offensive analyst and we'll see how much of a role he has. But yeah, I think there's a lot of reason for optimism because I think fans have kind of gone too doom and gloom, and I have a hard time believing that this is not at worst an 8-win team this year. And if you get to 8 wins and just get to next year and you have one of the best defenses in college football, you beat a lot of teams you don't really get upset, and you're in the Georgia game maybe longer than people expect in Neyland Stadium, or you push Alabama into the fourth quarter like you've done the last 2 times you've gone to Tuscaloosa. Maybe you give Florida a scare, or you beat Florida on the road because Florida is not having the year and TJ Lagway is not healthy and you're playing them a lot later. Like that's the last time you won at Florida anyway, was in November in 2001. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of reason for optimism, and I'm pretty bullish. So I've like tried to bring the train back. I'm like, all right, let's calm down. Like this is not a doom and gloom situation. This is not a team that's gonna be fighting for a bowl win. This is not Vanderbilt.
No, it's not. It's not Vanderbilt, and I love the points you make. You reiterate the reasons for optimism because of the experience on the defensive staff. I love that point because it's a terrific point that the fans might not necessarily look into. You mentioned a lack of buzz. Like, you're right. You're absolutely right. Vol Twitter is, kind of crickets when baseball was around. Yeah. Usually Vol football Twitter is alive and awake. Yeah. Often 24/7, 365. And obviously you said it, everything school HQ is Knoxville, Tennessee at this point in time, but Vol football, it's still a football school through and through. And when the football chatter is just a little bit quieter, that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world for Coach Heupel and his team, and just preparing for the end of summer camp, the beginning of fall camp. They're able to go into that building and get the things done that they need to get done. And like you said about Lance Hurd, develop. And I think that's what this team has. They have an experience in the college football playoff. They obviously had their experience as a coaching staff in 2022, being ultra successful with a quarterback and with an offense. I just think I agree. I think the ceiling is a lot higher than some people are giving this team and this coaching staff credit.
Alex, biggest Vol baseball offseason question for you this summer is what?
I think down the stretch, especially in SEC play, we saw that bullpen, that back end of the bullpen kind of give up some runs, which was concerning from my point. So I definitely think pitching would be my big focus. They've already done some work in that department. They got Brady Frederick, who was a ETSU transfer. He was the SoCon pitcher of the year. He's a submarine guy, real funky. So he's going to be insane to watch. Nothing better than the submarine guy up there. So, you're going to have that guy who knows if he'll start, if he'll come out of the bullpen. We know how, variable that stuff can be.
Edmondson's another sidearm guy, the Asheville guy. So you might have several of these dudes coming in here.
I mean, it's going to be exciting. And I think, you're losing some guys. You're going to lose Snead. You're going to lose some of those big guys, Dylan Loy in the portal. But, you still got you got Teagan, who hopefully takes a step up. He was in that Sunday role in the SEC play and then kind of lost that towards the end of the year in the tournament. But, I think Teagan, if he can give you a good weekend start, you can get Krenzel some reps because he looked really good down the stretch. Man, if they can get that pitching staff rolling, they're going to hit. They're going to hit homers because that's what Tennessee has done under Tony Vitello. But, man, if they can get that pitching rolling, an Omaha run's looking likely again, I think. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Griffin, it's interesting because Dylan Loy, I think, caught a lot of people by surprise this week. And for me, it's just, you can't bet. Like, it was the worst we saw of Dylan Loy was the last we saw of Dylan Loy. And I think there was still reason for optimism. Like, he was a great two-way player at Pitch and Forge. He had high upside. He was compared to Kirby just because of the East Tennessee part of it. And he wears Kirby's hat, but he had significant more upside than Kirby. The problem is Kirby was really good at his role, and Kirby was not looking to be a weekend
not
ace.
at all.
And Dylan has ace aspirations. Like, I want to be one of your weekend starters. And I just went into next year, and it's like, look, man, Teagan's back. And Alex, you talked about Teagan. I'm a big Teagan guy. I think he had too many restraints this year, I think. And I think they overprotected Teagan this season, and it was a detriment for him. But I do love that he's back. But you have a bunch of right-handers. So you don't have kind of a confusion in terms of where things are headed, because the big Rutgers addition potentially with Mac, he's another righty arm. So to me, I'm kind of wondering where they're going at the left-handed part of this, because Edmondson, righty, Brady Frederick, righty, Bo Rudy, righty, Mason Estrada, righty. They are loaded up. Braden Krenzel, who it would not surprise me at all is one of your weekend starters next year, another righty. Anson Siebert, who you didn't see this year, he's a righty and a top 100 player. I just don't really know. Dylan Loy had some leverage of like, well, if you need a lefty arm, like, you don't really have a lot of guaranteed options there, and we're not seeing that lefty pop up in the portal. You were also kind of gift wrapped Liam Doyle. Like, that's just an all-time addition that you're just not. Liam Doyles don't grow on trees, and you're just not going to walk into somebody like that as your Friday night guy. But there isn't an obvious lefty weekend starter right now for Tennessee. So it is kind of one of those things where I kind of wonder if maybe it's all righties. That just is what they're going to deal with. Or maybe it's one of the freshmen who make it to campus, but we won't know that until July, who is in and who's not, right?
It would be most likely at this point, like you said, Chase, that at least you get righty Friday, Saturday, and then maybe they try to work in a lefty. But I agree with you. That's exactly what I had down, is that Dylan Loy had lefty leverage. He had the ability to, play. And I think maybe what we saw a little bit was he had bigger aspirations. And like you said with Kirby, he didn't necessarily love his role on this roster in year 2. And I mean, the kids from Pigeon Forge, moment of silence for Jack Foster, the president of the Loy boys.
Well, Ryan Shumpert is a co-president. Like, Ryan's not going to love
Shumpert,
this,
of course. Yeah. But I always saw Loy boys rise up. It was maybe one of the most sad tweets I saw on Monday. And look, I'm a Pacers fan, and so like that crushed me. But Dylan Loy entered the portal. I mean, Loy boys fall down. I was like, man,
it was a tough day in the Tennessee Vols group chat. It was a tough one.
It's a tough break. But yeah, I couldn't agree more with Alex with the pitching. I think the thing I most noticed, and when you bring up the biggest offseason question, I think in my mind, it's what's the defensive preparation going to look like? Tony Vitello recruits his tail off. There's no doubt about that. Recruits out of the portal, recruits the 2026 guys. We'll talk about that later on. But when you think about what the holes were, I just think about Dean Curley throwing the ball into the dugout multiple times. I think about the overthrows at home plate. I think about during the Vandy series in a close game, Reese Chapman just kind of stumbling to his feet and firing the ball, and Vandy's able to turn a double or a single into a double. Those moments for me added up to losses at home during the regular season, and Arkansas was one of the cleanest teams we watched all season. And I don't think the talent gap was really that big, but man, Kentucky, Vandy, Arkansas, these teams that beat Tennessee in series, they knew how to defend and they played complementary baseball. I feel like we talk about complementary football all the time, but there was a lot of complementary baseball in this league, and you didn't necessarily see that through 9 innings with this Tennessee team when they were dropping series at home.
Yeah, I don't worry about it, but I do think it's just weird. Like, there's just going to be a lot of unproven guys. And I think that was a frustrating part for this staff, was like they were frustrated with the unproven nature behind Liam Doyle and Marcus Phillips, and they could never really find that right mix around them. But I think you might be more unproven and more uncertain next year. Even if you bring in Mac from Rutgers, I mean, we'll see. Like, I'm pretty optimistic and bullish on Krenzel, especially as a weekend starter. I'm bullish on Teagan as a Blade Tidwell type. He strikes me as like the new Blade Tidwell for Tennessee. But I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter. Like, you just have a bunch of dominant righties, and then you fill it out with some lefties in the bullpen. But I don't know. I really don't. Andrew Binke, is it time? It's your time, Andrew Binke. It's time to come back out of the shadows for him. But yeah, we'll see. And the other part is, like, can only imagine like how complicated it's been for Vitale and his staff over the last couple weeks because you don't know what your roster number is. You don't know if you're getting grandfathered in. You don't know if you're going to have 34 by this fall. You don't know really how this is going to work. And not having that certainty, I imagine, is very frustrating. But I also kind of wonder, like with Loy, man, even if you were uncertain about your role in 25 or 26, man, you had a really good thing. Like he had a big fan base. You're obviously still going to be a major factor in where things are headed in 26. And there's no, like, I think all agree, like it wouldn't be surprising if he won out one of those weekend starter jobs. So it's a kind of a surprise. Like it doesn't mean it was guaranteed or whatever, but I don't know. It's just kind of one of those. I wonder if Dylan Loy a couple of years from now looks back and it's like if he winds up at NC State or something, or it's like maybe I should have just stuck it out for another year just to see where I landed and if I was able to earn a weekend rotation start. Because look at how uncertain it was on Sundays this year. Like they went away. Teagan disappeared, and if Loy can stretch out and be that guy and be reliable, like I don't know, it wouldn't be surprising if Dylan Loy was one of your 3 starters next year.
And you even saw him get that start, here at the end of the year. I mean, I didn't expect Dylan Loy to start that game personally. Yeah. And, I thought that was a big, that's an important role, obviously. And I think Tony going to him in that spot was, to me as a pitcher, it probably would have meant something. And so, I think, that's a question that we're going to ask. Definitely.
Do we call that the Stamos? Like any opener for Tennessee going forward, it's just like we need a Stamos. Yeah. Who's the Stamos this year?
You can trademark that. I think that's a great point. I mean, there might be. I mean, with the struggle with the Sunday starter being inconsistent and constantly changing this season, they might go back to it next year. It would not surprise me one bit.
Oh, we'll see. But I also am just like, I'm not going to freak out about it. And I encourage fall baseball fans not to freak out because you just won a national title where Xander became just Tom Glavine for a month straight as a Sunday guy out of nowhere and the best Tennessee baseball run as a pitcher you'll ever see. Unhittable for a month and a half straight. Tennessee legend. You had to go to an opener with Stamos on Fridays. AJ Kazi started there. He moves down. Like just all kinds of craziness. Drew Beam was kind of up and down all year long. He probably had his worst year as a weekend starter for Tennessee, and you still won it all. Like it didn't matter. Like it's just kind of like I'm not going to freak out about the weekend rotation. Frank and Tony are going to figure it out. It's just I'm not going to do it. Call your shot, Griffin. Who has the best season of the big 3 sports next year? Is it football, men's basketball, or baseball? Who has the best season in 2025, 2026?
I feel like it's such a cop-out answer, but it's the safe pick, but it's my pick, and it's baseball. Okay. And it's because of the regional dominance, the super regional run, the consistency of this program. We talked about football already. And when you consider who has the best season, well, what does that mean? Regular season, postseason success. It's open-ended. That question's open-ended. Obviously, basketball made an Elite 8 this year. Tennessee football made the college football playoff, and baseball made the top 16 because they were in the super regional. And you could say they were probably one of the better teams in the super regional. They got a tough draw. So it's tricky. It's tricky because all 3 of them were so good. And man, watching practice footage of Nate Ament in the basketball gym had me questioning my choice in this. I'm still going to stick with baseball, but man, it wouldn't surprise me if basketball is unreal. But I am going to stick with baseball because of the coaching staff, the consistency. They've been there. They know how to navigate the regular season, the postseason. It just really does make the most sense in my mind. And I'm optimistic about the development of the guys that are coming back.
It's crazy that we throw baseball in because I think it's the hardest to just keep replicating. I mean, you 5 straight supers and we're just like, yeah, the big 3. Like, yeah, they'll probably go back to Omaha next year. It's absurd. I mean, I don't know. Do you share that, Alex? Is it baseball for you or is it somebody else?
Not. I'm going to take the Nate Ament hype train on this one because, first of all, obviously Nate Ament, but Jalen Carey for me is one of the dogs. Man, I love watching him play because you remember back at this year when Tennessee was at Vandy, he gave fits. He gave Tennessee fits on the inside, and I think that's what Tennessee needs. I mean, you've got Felix, who's a really good defensive guy, but I think what hurt Tennessee really in the postseason in the Elite 8 in the tournament was, especially against Houston, those rebound numbers, they got to come up. And even that opening game against Wofford, I remember their rebound numbers were a little bit, concerning. And, I remember in the back of my head, I was like, well, they're going to run into somebody down the road that's going to cost them. So I think, if Jalen can get up and get those boards for you, that's huge. And that's one of the biggest things that I think they need. And, it's that consistency with Barnes. You've got 2 Elite Eights under your belt now. And, this program's really been rolling these past few years. And it's been exciting to watch. Jacoby Gillespie, obviously, he's going to bring that veteran presence, kind of that. We'll see what happens with Kai Ziegler. But you're still going to have a veteran guy running the point. And I think that's, something that is always helpful, especially with, you're going to have young guys, you got to met. So I'm excited for basketball. And I think, they're my pick to have the best year. Definitely.
Basketball, I think of the 3 next year, I'm the most excited about. Like, I think they have the most upside of the 3 next year. And TBD, I need to see the final roster for baseball before I 100% put this in black ink here. But basketball, it's no question. If they land Isaac McNeely or Rodney Rice at the beginning of portal season, and that's their 2-guard situation instead of question mark of Amari Abram, 4 teams in 4 years, or Clarence Masamba, the overseas wonder. We'll see. Mari Evans, true freshman. Bishop Boswell, year 2. I don't know who their starting 2-guard's going to be. Maybe it's Sakai or Jacoby Gillespie if Sakai gets that waiver. But it doesn't seem it doesn't feel like that's where this is headed. That being said, it's just so hard, especially in March Madness, to go 3 straight Elite Eights and even get to the Final Four. Part of the unluckiness of Tennessee is they've lost to 1 seeds back-to-back years now. And they were a game away last year from being a 1 seed potentially. If you win at Ole Miss, if Igor hits that, if that just goes a different way in Oxford last year, I think Tennessee ends up getting a 1 seed, or at least they're closer to that line. And they're just the margin of error is so thin. But Tennessee 2 years ago with Dalton Connect, I think Tennessee was the 3rd best team in the country that year. And they don't get a 1 seed, and they get put in one of the 2 teams that I think could have beat them in a tournament game and the Elite Eight, and Zach Edey and the Purdue Boilermakers. So just bad luck the last 2 years and who you've gotten matched up with and not getting the 1 seed other year. If they can get a 1 seed, I'm in. But the thing I worry most about is just that 2 spot. And if Nate Amin is just a world-class, just absolute player of the year type, then that changes everything for Tennessee. If he can live up to the hype. And that's the fun part. Is people are oh, you need to calm your expectations. No, I'm not. Tennessee's never getting a freshman like Nate Amin ever again. That's not what I'm doing. I'm saying Kevin Durant 2.0. I am immediately going in with sky high expectations. That's the whole point of all of this. That's why you sign Nate Amin, is because he is the number 2 overall player in this class. He could be the number 1 overall pick next year in the NBA draft. You watch him today in those clips and you're like, oh, okay, this is fantastic. This is not Julian Phillips coming in here. This is not the same 5-star. It's a little bit different. It's okay to lean into this. This is fun. It's like the Dalton Connect thing. You're never going to get another transfer like Dalton Connect. It's never going to happen. You're never going to get another Nate. He's the best program freshman addition Tennessee has ever had. This is uncharted waters. Just enjoy it. Go sky high expectations. But I just do think it's going to be really hard for them to make 3 straight Elite Eights and make it to the Final Four after going to back-to-back Elite Eights. I don't know. I need to see more at the 2-guard. I want to see how that plays out over the next couple months. Let me see that. But I think it has to be baseball for me still. I think Tony's going to reload. I think leaving early and not making Omaha, giving them more time to just load up in the portal, I think is going to help them. And I'm pretty bullish on all of these young guys coming back. I think Levi Clark's going to rake. I think I'm a big Newstrom guy. I think they're going to figure it out with the rotation, the bullpen. The bullpen can't be worse than what we saw this year. I think the bullpen's going to be more reliable. I think they're taking less JUCO guys, which I think is important this cycle. I think they went a little bit too JUCO heavy last time. I think Myatt is going to be really fun as a DH guy. And that was in a role that you thought you were going to have this year. Jay Abernathy, big time player. Manny Marin, nothing but Uncrustables from now until February 15th. Just keep throwing Uncrustables at Manny Marin. I just need, you saw the power where he went Oppo home run in that for his 3rd of the year. That was crazy. We were oh, that was discombobulating. Was that Manny Marin? But yeah, only Uncrustables for Manny Marin for the next 6 months. And we just have a potential All-American there. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good spot. I mean, it's kind of wild that I still feel pretty bullish on Tennessee football, but I think they're still just a distant 3rd here. They're not. It's just not the same right now. It's just not.
A distant 3rd with an over-under of 8.5.
Yes.
I mean, that's the conversation, which is I mean, you use the word bullish. Like you can't not be bullish about all three, but man, when you list off those returners, Jay Abernathy is just a tear on the base pass. I think he can improve at the plate. Same with Manny Marin. That's where I'm at. It's hard not to pick him.
Yeah, and I'm not the Newey stock. Like Newey should have gotten one of those Reese Chapman starts every weekend. Like he needed one. Just give Newstrom one of those starts. I'm a big Newstrom guy. I think he's going to be a superstar for Tennessee, potentially starting as early as next year. Speaking of those freshmen, Alex, you've been at all these baseball games too. When you're looking at this, a lot of freshmen. We didn't see enough of Jay Abernathy, I think, this year, which is kind of, we just don't know anything. Like you're like, Ryan Combs, plug and play, brother, closer, never see Ryan Combs again, just disappears. Andrew Binky is going to be a high leverage lefty in the bullpen, disappears, gone. And then you look at Jay Abernathy, most likely freshman to play a significant role for Tennessee baseball in 2025, just disappears and is not among all the freshmen, is just not there. Who of those freshmen are you still like, I think he's going to be the best player in 2026 of this number one freshman class that we just saw?
Unfortunately, I still have to go with Jay Abernathy. He did get that home at the end of the year.
Yes.
We have to remind ourselves. So there is some pop. We're worried.
Him and Manny showing for the future here at the very end.
I mean, I love the way that Jay Abernathy plays. Great. I mean, obviously didn't get in the lineup to a point where you could see, a full sample size, but I think speed kills, and especially in the SEC, that you saw the way that teams were running bases on Tennessee this year. If Tennessee can do that to other teams and you take advantage of the running game, you can win in those margins. I think that's the way you win baseball games, especially, for me at least. I enjoy watching teams that can win in the margins like that. And man, if he can get going on the base pass, he can get that power up, get those extra base hits, that can be awesome. His defensive ability is insane. We saw him. I remember sitting up there earlier in the year and he tracked down a ball in foul territory. And I'm like, man, he just got this jump on a ball. I'm like, okay, this kid can motor out there. So no, I think I'm going to stick with him. I think he's my guy. And I always joke with my sports editor, Trevor. I'm like, he's Trevor's favorite player when he's in the game, and he's just fun to watch.
I like it. Is it Jay for you too, Griffin, or no?
It's Tegan Kuntz.
Oh,
it's Tegan Kuntz, because I think one more year in the strength and conditioning program is going to do numbers for Tegan Kuntz. I think one more year with Frank Anderson is going to do numbers. I really do think he has so much potential, and he was one of the guys I was most excited to see. And obviously he had some wrinkles, had to deal with, injury and different things and struggles and several hits early on and some walks here and there. And because any true freshman is going to deal with that. Our mind and Vol baseball fans' minds are skewed because of what Chase Burns and Drew Beam did as true freshmen, because that was the expectation. And so I really like the potential that is Tegan Kuntz. You brought up Levi Clark. Like, I'm super excited for him, but he played so much, and I hope he gets some time in the field and he just continues to grow. But I'm on the Tegan Kuntz train when it comes to 2026.
I'll allow it. I think Tennessee really needs Tegan Kuntz to break out and be the guy. But you got to let him off the leash, man. You got to let that man cook.
No doubt.
I think he's the X factor. I really do. I mean, just the way that he, I agree with that short leash. There were a few moments this year when I'm like, I remember I forget what game it was, but there were a few games where he had bases loaded, one out, maybe no outs. I want to see him work out of that spot. Now I know,
and he'd gotten out of it before this year. Like,
and
a couple times.
He's got the stuff. That's
he's not scared.
He's not scared, and I think I want to see a guy prove it to me. And you can't do that when you're getting taken out of the game. So I think definitely he might one of the biggest X factors for next year for sure. And I'm very looking forward to seeing him, what he can do.
I like it. The most underrated Vol in the Heupel era. Y'all have seen it all from the college lens. Like, Heupel is the defining coach. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, it's just, you're like, oh, who's the coach in college? Oh, Heupel. Like, it's just that's part of it. It just, you're always gonna be connected to Heupel. You've seen all of it. Who, in your estimation, though, over the last 4 years, will we look back on and be like, he's been the most underrated Vol under Heupel?
All right, I can start on this one. I'm going to go, and the reason I don't know, I'm going to go with Elijah Simmons, okay?
No shot.
What? Most underrated ever under Heupel? Elijah Simmons?
Well, here's
Listen,
the
Pace,
thing.
I have him written down as well.
Okay.
What are we? Did y'all? Hold on. Let me hold
for
on.
different reasons.
Hold on. Let me repeat the question. The most underrated ball in the Josh Heupel era. There's so many choices.
For different reasons.
Okay, I'm so excited. This is the most stunning answer I've ever heard.
When I hear underrated, I want to go with a guy who has really no limelight time at all. So this is why I picked Elijah Simmons. First of all, consistently available on the D line. Okay, he played a ton of games. Just a beast of a guy, can really help you with the run game on the interior of the D line. I think he came up big in some games this year. I know he had a big play at Oklahoma in that game. So I don't know. I just think a guy that's steady, that doesn't get any glory. That's my definition of underrated. So that's why I'm going with Elijah Simmons.
Elijah Simmons.
I know. That's why I was laughing when you asked that question. I was like, this is probably going to get a laugh, but I don't know. That's the name. That's the name that jumped out.
It's not really a laugh. It's just stunning.
I don't know. I was kind of stunned when I came to that conclusion, but that's what I came to.
This is incredible. Elijah Simmons, also a great singer, I think.
Yes. So I will confirm, one of the best singers I've ever heard.
Good stuff.
Elijah Simmons, one of the greatest human beings that you will ever meet. Soft-spoken, but an incredible guy. One of the hardest workers in that room for 6 years. And that's a big reason why I had him on my list. I picked a 6th year on offense and a 6th year on defense. Elijah Simmons was my defensive guy. There's a reason why the Cardinals picked him up, because there is so much potential there at his frame. He was in the Vol Leaders Academy with me. We went to the Philippines together. I saw him interact with kids on that trip when we were teaching using sport for change, just the leadership that he brought to the room. I think when I think underrated Vol, I think about a name that's not brought up very often. I think about a guy that maybe had an impact that was farther than his play on the field. And that's what I saw with Elijah Simmons. One of the biggest number 10s you'll ever see is Elijah Simmons. I mean, he could stop the run. His numbers don't necessarily reflect the impact when he was on the field. And the dude was quick. He could plug that hole in a very efficient and effective way. But I just have a soft spot for Big E. He's one of my best friends that has played football for the University of Tennessee. And so that's why I wrote him down, because of that leadership capability. But it's awesome that Sarkis brought him up as well, because I'm so glad he's given his flowers.
This is fantastic stuff. I did not expect Elijah Simmons, and he had a great final year. Like, he's a great story too, because he was just always in the mix in the interior, and he was just always someone who had buzz in the summer and fall, where it's like, if he can put it together, like, he's obviously has the frame to be a great interior guy, but he put it together at the end, which is great. Like, he's a great, like, final story. You know, he stuck with it. He didn't transfer. He's a longtime Tennessee guy, and he had a great final year. Like, Elijah Simmons was great for Tennessee in the interior this year.
Yeah, no doubt. Like you said, his progression was great. He played in games for years and years. He started at nose tackle when he was young. He was brought in off the bench when that defensive line was stacked. And you had Omari Thomas saying in the presser in the spring game before last year that Tennessee, we want to have the best defensive line in the country. And you have guys like James Pierce coming back. But you have Elijah Simmons, who's been consistent, been there for the whole Heupel regime. And that's what I like about Elijah Simmons.
Can I give you mine?
Absolutely.
It's going to be unpopular with Tennessee fans. It's Jeremy Banks.
Oh,
Jeremy Banks was an exceptionally good linebacker for Tennessee.
He was.
And I think it's just going to be lost in the shuffle, because I think people are going to remember, not being available for the South Carolina game in 2022. And that's a big what if. What happens if Jeremy Banks is in the middle in that game? Does South Carolina still carve up this defense and kick Tennessee out of the CFP like they did? Jeremy Banks on a defense that just had no talent because of how much you lost in the portal from Pruitt to Heupel. He was good. Like, Jeremy Banks was just someone I was like, Jeremy Banks is a good player. Like, a lot of fans were just like, this is terrible. I'm like, Jeremy Banks is good. Jeremy Banks was good at rushing passer. Jeremy Banks was good at in run defense. Like, he graded well. Like, Jeremy Banks, you watch Jeremy Banks, he's just a good football player. Like, he was just a good SEC linebacker on a team that just did not have a lot of talent around him in those years that he was here. And I think he got a lot of strife because he was he was the lead guy. Like, he was the he is the Mike linebacker. He was the man responsible for some bad scoring defenses those first 2 years. And I'm like, Jeremy Banks was actually good. And Jeremy Banks with this group, and if you had Jeremy Banks the last 2 years when Keenan Peely went down and you just had Banks and Aaron Carter flying around, that would have been really fun. So I think Jeremy Banks will just be lost in the shuffle of like, no, Banks was a really great SEC linebacker and a great Tennessee linebacker. And I don't think that's how people are going to remember him.
I agree. I don't think that's how people remember him at all. I do think it's the scuffle, the locker room, the missing South Carolina, but top tier football player could, he could hit a guy and put him in the ground and make a stop for a Tennessee defense where he had little to no help behind him.
Yeah. That dude gave it all. Like on the field, flying all over the place. Pro Jeremy Banks on the field for Tennessee. Final thing, we'll wrap up here, guys. Is Heupel one of the best CFB hires of the 2000s? Because CBS Sports did this list of all the head coaches here in the 2000s, and Heupel did not make the list. And I had to go back and look through, and like, there's obviously the Kirby Smart's like, yeah, Kirby Smart, pretty good one. That's not a TBD. I think you can go ahead and comfortably put Kirby Smart to Georgia on that list. But you look at some of the names here, and I'm like, yeah, Heupel absolutely belonged on this list. And I think now so much time has passed that people now are undervaluing what Heupel walked into in January of 2021, that we're now underrating Heupel. And he's won 30 games in his last 3 years. He's won 19 with below average quarterback play the last year. Like, he's shown that he can win in a multitude of ways. Like, he's been a better hire than Lincoln Riley at USC. He's been a better hire than a lot of names that you see pop up, and you're like, Heupel isn't really getting the same kind of appreciation. So when you see these lists, you're like, man, you're really overthinking Heupel. Like, what? The dude just wins 30 wins in 3 years. And if you have the 12-team playoff in 2022, he has 2 CFPs in 4 years. Like, half of his tenure is college football playoff appearances. I don't know. Do you share that sentiment, Alex?
I think I do. And I looked at that same list, and, there were some guys on there that I totally agree. I mean, I was surprised. I was like, is Heupel really not on here? And I kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And I was like, no, he's not. So yeah, I mean, it was just, you talked about that record. I like this stat. He's got Tennessee's winningest 3-year stretch since 1998 to 2000. I think that's significant. And, you talk about not even on the national scale, but just the way that he's resurrected the program. Just he inherits this team that went 3-7 the year before. And you talk about a quick turnaround. I mean, you fast forward a few years, and like you said, he could have 2 CFPs right now. And so, yeah. And the other thing with the quarterback play, like you said, 2 really average to below average guys that he's had to work with outside of Hendon Hooker, man, it's impressive. And the way that I remember I was at that Florida game in 2022. I didn't know where I was going to go to school yet, but I was looking at Tennessee, and I was at that Florida game.
I was there too.
And I was like, talking to some of the people around me, and they're like, and I didn't grow up a Tennessee fan. And they were like, yeah, Florida's been really the bugaboo for the past, 15 years. And so I didn't understand how big it was, how big that win was. But, just to erase that streak, and then you beat Bama the same year, just that season, overall, I think is one of the best college football seasons. It didn't end the way you wanted it to, obviously, with that South Carolina game, but man, that's one of the coolest college football seasons that I've ever watched. I think just the way that the Tennessee fans reacted to that, because like I said, I wasn't familiar with that stuff. So I think that was really cool, kind of from an outside perspective.
Yeah. What about you, Griffin?
I think I looked at the list, and I was surprised. And if you are just considering the list, if you're talking about 25 coaches, yes, I think he belongs on the list. When it comes to the best hires of the 2000s, I think you need a couple more years for like top 15, really putting him up there. Like, I think when it comes to best hires of the 2020s, he's like the best. But when you're talking about the 2000s, and you scrolled and you saw Jim Harbaugh, Nick Saban was hired in the 2000s. Urban Meyer was hired in the Dabo Swinney, multiple national championships. 9 conference titles. Chip Kelly was hired in the 2000s. Like, there are guys with a decade of longevity. And so I don't think, and because of longevity, he's not in that category yet, but I think he's well on his way. I was looking earlier today. Post 2009 until Heupel, Tennessee's 76 and 79, right? Ooh. 76 and 79 before Heupel in that stretch. Heupel's 37 and 15. obviously it's a full resurrection of this program. My official visit for Tennessee Swimming and Diving in the fall of 2019 was a little weekend in August when Tennessee played Georgia State. That's when I was exposed to the University of Tennessee football. So it's a contrast from Alex Sarkis, where he was in the building for Florida. My first experience in Neyland Stadium was against Georgia State. And so I still ended up in Knoxville, and man, I'm glad I did. But it's pretty crazy that Heupel got into town on campus that same fall that I did in 2021. And man, I wouldn't have expected what happened with this program, especially with the just changing of the rosters in 21 and 22, like you talked about earlier, Chase, with the defense behind Jeremy Banks. I agree with you. Yes, he should be on this list. I think he is in the same category as Lane Kiffin, who's 44-18 at Ole Miss. He was brought on a year earlier. He has the winningest season in Ole Miss history, and that's probably why CBS put him on the list. But I think when you think about what Heupel did to this program to bring it back, I think he's in the exact same category as Lane when it comes to the trajectory of Tennessee and Ole Miss. And Tennessee just made a college football playoff. So to be honest, he should be right up there with Lane, if not one spot ahead of him.
I love it. There we go, guys. First pod on the Chase Thomas podcast. Alex Sarkis, Griffin Hadley. Great stuff by you guys. What can the good folks check out from you this summer? Anything Daily Beacon, or are you off this summer, Alex?
I've been trying to keep up writing. I usually do a Vols and pro baseball story every week, so you can check that out. Hopefully get some more stuff out this summer. So yeah.
Awesome. What about you, Griffin?
About to start a new gig here soon with Yahoo Sports. I'm really pumped about it after doing a whole bunch of things. I just finished up a year with Omaha Productions with our guy, Jack Foster, which is a great experience. Had a great experience with WTK The Rock doing sports at UT. So I'm excited for the future. And hey, I'm going to be in Knoxville next year. So I'm hoping to be on the mic for a little bit of swim action, maybe some color commentary in the fall and the winter. SECs for swimming and diving is in Knoxville. And I want to point out, we've been talking about the big three. We've been talking about football, baseball, and basketball. Just last week was U.S. Nationals for swimming and diving.
Yeah.
Outgoing freshman, rising sophomore, Mackenzie Sarkis made the world championship team for Team USA swimming. This is the second biggest meet in the world outside of the Olympics. And this girl has only been swimming year-round for 3 years, played full-time hockey, and is now breaststroker for Tennessee, made the world championship team. She'll be live on Peacock in Singapore at the end of July representing Team USA. Shout out Swim and Dive. Shout out Mackenzie Sarkis, because that is a significant Tennessee accomplishment in Knoxville from the past couple of weeks.
Big time. What a shout out. There you go. Great stuff. Alex Sarkis, Griffin Hadley, thank you for the time, and we'll have to do this again very soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chase.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.